Hey everybody, it's Allie and welcome to our Y&R Chat for Sunday, December 3rd, 2017. I need to know what the thing was that happened in New Orleans between Phyllis and Billy and Nick and Chelsea. You cannot leave me hanging on this, Y&R. Please fill me in. Was it sex? Was it drugs? Was it rock and roll? Was it all of the above? I just don't know. It has to be sex though, right? Something happened. Like, did they go to a strip club together? Did they have a foursome? Did they hire a prostitute? Was she involved in a sex ring? Did someone wake up next to a dead hooker? I have no idea. It really is, honestly, it's a little bit brilliant in the fact that it's a blank canvas for the fans, right? It is like a Bob Ross painting. You just get to paint in the color any way you want. You just dip your brush in and you let your imagination run wild. Paint those happy little trees and bushes, doing whatever you want. Oh, for my part, I'm convinced. The official Allie stance on it is I'm convinced that it was partner swapping. It was partner swapping, right? I think that Nick and Phyllis did it, or did something, and I think Chelsea and Billy did something. I mean, it wouldn't be the first time if you think about it. Nick and Phyllis were married, they have a child together. Billy and Chelsea have had sex before they have a child together, so hey, swingers. This is like the ultimate cliffhanger that we will never know the answer to. Oh, whatever it was, Billy and Phyllis seemed to be still into it after the trip, while Nick and Chelsea seemed more annoyed and awkward, I guess, by it. I feel really nervous about Nick and Chelsea right now and what the future holds for them. I think that maybe little by little they're gonna start to realize that they're more different than they realized, and I thought that was highlighted very well on Friday's show as Nick and Chelsea were going through their Christmas ornaments. It was a very, very cute scene, but they are trying to blend two lifestyles. They're trying to blend two families, and Chelsea has this idea that she's going to decorate the apartment and the tree with the modern Christmas, she wants probably geometric, she wants style, she's a fashionista, while Nick wants the traditional ornaments like the Christmas kitsch. And it was really funny watching them argue over it and try to come together. Where do you guys stand on that, by the way? Do you like a modern Christmas? Where it's that time of year. Were you siding with Chelsea or Nick? Do you like a modern Christmas or do you like a kitschy Christmas? I don't know. I was kind of siding with Chelsea a little bit. I like things to be I don't know, I would want it to be coordinated, I would think, and the Christmas kitsch isn't exactly my thing, but you'll have to let me know, chatters, who you sided with in that argument. But it was a cute scene, but at the same time it did demonstrate the ways that Nick and Chelsea are different, and I think that Nick and Chelsea are, especially next week, going to be at odds when it comes to the Christmas activities too. So Victor is planning, I'm assuming, the first annual Newman family tree lighting ceremony at the ranch. Of course, I'd love to imagine that Victor Newman is getting like his hands into this big knotted ball of Christmas lights and stringing them up around the ranch. Of course, I know that would never happen, but he wants to unveil probably what Mrs. Martinez's family has done for the ranch. And Nick and Chelsea not planning to attend. They're not necessarily on good terms with Victor. I don't know what makes him expect that they would be there, especially after if things didn't exactly go perfectly at Thanksgiving. Victor. He wants Chelsea and Nick to come to this tree lighting ceremony so badly that he basically stops by and tries to blackmail Chelsea into making sure that Nicholas attends. Oh, it sure would be a shame, Chelsea, if Nicholas were to find out that you're keeping this paternity secret from him, that Christian isn't really his son, that Christian is really your ex-husband Adam's son. It sure would be a shame, Chelsea, if that information had to be brought to light for Nick. I mean, like, Victor, you're not exactly being Mr. Forthright here when it comes to this situation either. You're willing to destroy Nick's family over nothing? It seemed so unnecessary and so cruel of Victor, and I don't know, do you guys think that the secret is about to come out? And do you think that it would destroy Nick and Chelsea's relationship, and not just the relationship, but the family that they're trying to build around it? I think that's a really good poll question for the week. Do you think that Nick would or could forgive Chelsea for keeping Christian's paternity secret? Because I'm trying to imagine the aftermath of all of this, and in some ways I could completely see Nick blowing up about it. He just blew up about her, being exposed on the Hilary Hour. I could see him blowing up about this secret the same way he did to Sharon. I mean, this happened exactly with Sharon, and he was ready to disown Sharon for a while. He did leave her. He stopped their wedding because Sharon was keeping Summer's paternity secret. So would he decide to leave Chelsea? Or, like, on the other hand, I can kind of see Nick deciding to listen to her reasoning and loving his son and wanting to keep the family together, deciding to just keep everything blended and to try to understand and move forward. What do you think that Nick would do? YRChat.com, that's our poll question, and I'd like to get some discussion going around that this week. Do you think that he would forgive Chelsea and for keeping this secret and just decide to move on with her? I mean, I just don't know what would happen to Christian if the secret were out and Nick was like incensed about it. I mean, what would happen? A custody battle? It would have to probably erupt into some kind of custody acknowledgement. And if that's the case, is Victor going to get involved? If this secret comes out, is Victor going to force a custody battle? And would he win? I don't know. It seems like a can of worms that Victor really has no need to open. And furthermore, it's such this whole Christmas thing seems like such a small trifle of a thing to be trying to blackmail her over, to be holding over her head. I mean, Chelsea, you know what you have to do, right, girl? I mean, today it's the Christmas tree lighting ceremony blackmail. Next month it's going to be New Year's celebration blackmail. And eventually you're in for years and years and years of birthday blackmail down the road for the rest of your life. There's only one way, Chelsea, that you can take the power away from the blackmailer. You have to tell Nick the truth yourself. Early in the week, Nick was working with Paul on the underground arson investigation, and lo and behold, the photo of Brent Davis appears in the box of recovered evidence at the police station. The underground was burned beyond repair, okay? But that photo from the 70s, it was just lightly seared around the edges, perfectly framing Brent Davis's face. Thank goodness goodness, Victor happened to bumble into the background and identify the man in the photo, helping everyone piece the entire situation together. Nick, realizing that the connection is Dina, goes over to Jack's house, and he tries to question Dina, but Jack, understandably, is not about to let Nick get anywhere near Dina right now. And I think that was the right choice, even though it came off a little bit harsh. I think that if Nick would have gone up in there and started questioning Dina, it really would have upset her. Jack did a good job of, on his own, trying to draw the memories, draw the information out of her. He puts on the record that was playing the night of the fire, and he remembered that there was something off with that record being there and then not being there and reappearing, and he little by little asks her some questions, and she little by little remembers that she was there, that she was at the underground, that she lit the match, and that she must have started the fire. She slowly starts to remember and deduce what had happened, and it was so sad for her. She's terrified of the realization that she has done something so heinous that she doesn't even remember doing. I can't imagine what that terror must feel like for her. I felt so bad for her in that moment, although at the same time, I'm so glad that she has the support of Jack and her family around her. Paul stops by the Abbott mansion to give Jack an update on the charges with Dina and the assault on Nikki, and Jack immediately informs him, "Sorry, bud, there will be no charges against my mother for the Nikki assault." Jack hands Paul the medical records of Dina, which include everything he needs to know. And of course, Paul understands immediately. The woman has Alzheimer's. She has a disease. It's, she's 80 years old. It's ridiculous that they would even be considering pressing charges in the first place. But at the same time, it was a crime, and I'm sure Paul was just doing his due diligence, and then realizing that there's so much more to the story, he agrees immediately that there will be no charges. Paul relays that information to Nick, who will now be off the hook for the underground fire. He will get his insurance money, and Nick took it well when he learned the full truth about it. In fact, Nick was even very empathetic toward Jack, toward the Abbott family, even gave him pause to think about his own relationship with his parents and what it will be like caring for them as they age. I mean, Nikki's MS is under control right now, and doesn't Victor have epilepsy that magically went away? Y&R is so rife with diseases like this that are brought up and then they just go away. Unfortunately, it's becoming, I think, clear to the audience that Dina's Alzheimer's is not going to have some kind of magic disappearance. In fact, it is really rapidly progressing. 2 weeks ago, we were just finding out that it's a possibility, or that that's what it was, and now we are really seeing that it's not even the early stages. We're seeing her have episodes where she doesn't always know where she is, even in Jack's home. She doesn't even know what day it is, thinking that it's Christmas when it's not. It is so heartbreaking to watch, and there is no reversal on this. This just is the reality that Jack and the entire family and Dina herself have to deal with. I did like that Jack finally confided in Nikki this week. It didn't feel right that they had just left their relationship hanging. He actually talks to Nikki, reaches out to her, and tells her the whole story. She was there for him. She was totally tender toward him, and she tried to offer him not only support, but a little bit of advice. Nikki did suggest to Jack that maybe he does need to get some professional care for Dina. And I thought, that is really not a bad idea. I love Jack for wanting to take care of his mother, but at the same time, at what point do you have to identify that you're in over your head? If Dina is to a point where she is becoming criminal, then I think she might need a nurse or someone who's able to provide her 24-hour care. I mean, you have to respect Jack for wanting, I think, to give his mother the care that he did not receive from her in his childhood. I don't entirely understand why a relationship with Nikki would interfere with that. I thought she was offering some good advice to him, but he did tell her that he thinks that they need to end their relationship. It was sad, and not as much because I'm some huge Nikki and Jack fan, but just because it was an example of the beginning of the ways that Jack is making sacrifices on his life in order to help his mother. And in terms of the larger relationship, I do think that Jack breaking up with Nikki was a good choice and the right ending for the relationship from a writing perspective and from a story perspective, because if it had been the other way around, it just would have been another story about Nikki going back to Victor, and we've seen that cycle complete itself many, many times. And I'm sure, of course, that all of this is just a roundabout way of reuniting Nikki and Victor, which I can't say I'm too unhappy about. I think it was back in August or whenever it was announced that Mal Young was going to be taking on the head writing role, someone had asked me what I would like to see from Mal Young when he immediately took over. Like, what's the first story that I would like to see resolved? And I think the one and only thing that I said was I would like to see Nikki and Victor reunited. I'd like for them to become a stable couple on the show, become happy, or as happy as they can possibly be, but I'd like to see Nikki and Victor facing challenges together, and I have a feeling I'm about to get my wish. Very sweetly and with the best of intentions, Jack is wanting to follow up the Abbott family Thanksgiving to remember with an Abbott family Christmas to remember. The problem is reality versus memories don't quite match up. And I think that was a very interesting irony for Jack, given what Dina is going through. Reality versus memories are just not matching up. The reality now is so much more heartbreaking than the memories. It's like you keep your memories and those feel good, and Jack has a tendency, I think, to pick and choose the happy ones. That's been a thread that has remained consistent through his character, but the reality is so very sad, and both Jack and Dina are trying their best to navigate this new world, but yet the reality is crashing through the memories. There was this wonderful moment at the end of a sequence of Dina's episodes where Dina has a lucid moment of realizing that she is slipping away, and I'm sure she can see it in her son's face, and she makes this almost preemptive statement letting him know that I know things are gonna get hard. This is gonna make me cry, but in this moment where I am myself, I want you to know that I love you now. I love you always. I've always loved you. It's just, I just thought that was such a wonderful moment, because we are seeing Dina become snappy with him, and saying, we're just going to get on each other's nerves. And I'm sure there is, because of the frustration she must feel, I think it's going to be natural for her to want to take it out on Jack. So it was beautiful that she had enough presence of mind to let him know that no matter what I say, I want you to know that my heart loves you. And it was very, very sad. Jack is such a sentimental fellow, isn't he? He remembers Christmas as this magical family affair where everyone comes together, they decorate the house to perfection. But Dina did remind him that she was never the one that was decking the halls, okay? We had help for that. There was a memory that Jack had of decorating his first ornament, and in his mind, his mom was helping him decorate it, but Dina's memory is the reality that it was actually Mamie who's there, you know, with the sequins and the glitter. That would never have been Dina's style, even though she loved her children in the way that she could, and she was present, but she wasn't really there. I think honestly that Jack was just hoping that pulling out all of this old Christmas stuff might jog Dina's memory in a positive direction, but that really didn't happen for her. I think it was also another significant moment when Jack accidentally saw that his first ornament was crashed onto the floor. It was shattered, it was broken, and I think in some ways Jack's ideals about the holiday and about the family and maybe even about his life kind of shattered in the moment that ornament hit the floor. In many ways, I think that maybe Jack's life has been a lot about keeping up appearances lately. Ashley's taken over the reins at Jabot, and she's finding that maybe Jack is not quite as organized as she thought he was. Maybe he's not quite as on top of key business aspects as she thought that he was. I have to give Ashley a little bit of leeway here because she is taking over a mammoth task. I mean, can you imagine, like, you're you and you just like take over a company that's as big as, like, I don't know, Maybelline or L'Oreal or whatever some other cosmetics company is. I mean, that it's a major task that she's trying to deal with, and I think that Ashley does deserve some respect for that. I have to admit, I thought it was very inappropriate for Gloria to come in there questioning every move that Ashley was making. I understand that Gloria is trying to defend Jack. That's great. That's kind of her man, you know, and in more recent months, that's become someone that she has developed a respect and a relationship with. But I thought it was not appropriate for Gloria to get up in there questioning everything that Ashley was doing, texting Jack throughout the day with updates. Ashley has a big job to do, and being in charge means being in charge, not letting the secretary question you at every turn. And letting the secretary tell you what to do. I'm not trying to downplay Gloria's contribution, but Ashley's the head honcho here. She's making the decisions. And all the while, poor Ravi is like waving in the background. Hi, I'm here. Hey, it's me, Ravi. He's just polite, like, I'll just be here for you, kind of being passive. You know, I think that Ravi's starting to realize that he cannot wait for Ashley forever or until she decides that she wants him. Although I do think that Ashley does want him, but he's such an afterthought to her. There was a moment at the mansion where I think that Ashley was feeling a little lonely, maybe a little left out of Dina and Jack's fa la 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 la, and she privately goes into the kitchen and texts Abby to see if she wants to have dinner, and Abby's not available, so that's when Ashley decides to schedule, why not, a little sexy hotel time at the hotel with Ravi. And I mean, it seemed like such a second place prize to me. I'm glad that Ashley was getting her zhuzh, but this to me, it just feels like second best. Last week I asked you guys in our poll question, do you want to see Ashley and Ravi rekindle their romance? The pretty vast majority, 78% of you said no. That's how I voted too. I think that it had a moment, but that moment has passed, unfortunately, and it's just not working for me. They did have their sexy time, and the next day it was clear that Ashley felt very rejuvenated. It was clear that Ashley really enjoyed herself, and I'm happy for her for that. But she is talking to Ravi about it, saying, we should totally do that again sometime. Although when Ravi tries to lock it down, like make some plans with her, Ashley suggests that they just keep it light. Let's not plan this. Let's let it be impromptu. That's what works for me. And that's not necessarily what works for Ravi. And she's being insensitive to that. It's really all about her and him serving at her pleasure in a way, and it's become not about him at all. I am sure that part of what Ashley is going through right now is contributed to the fact that she's taking on this mammoth task at the company, but she also, I think, is putting her head in the sand a little bit when it comes to Dina. She's going through her process of grieving with her mother in just a different way than Jack is, and so I give her a little bit of leeway. Maybe she's trying a carpe diem approach to life, just wanting to feel good when it suits her and not make plans for time that you may not have. But it also kind of sounds to me like she just wants to use Ravi to feel good when it suits her, and I think Ravi or anybody else deserves more than that. I mean, I am all for sexy time, don't get me wrong, but I want to see Ravi be honest with her. I want to see Ravi pin her down a little bit and tell her that she needs to make a decision. If Ravi were happy being a boy toy, that's one thing, but Ravi wants more than that, and Ashley knows it. At the scene of Zach's murder, Paul finds the gun that shot him and traces it back to Nikki. It was Nikki's gun that shot Zach. So naturally, Paul has to go and question Nikki, and I loved how indignant she was when Paul was questioning her. She might as well have just looked at him and said, "Are you asking me if I'm packing heat, Paul?" It was really kind of funny, but it was also very serious, right? I mean, a serious crime has been committed. Paul has to find the answers, and Nikki has no idea how her gun would have magically ended up at the scene of a crime until she glances over and she sees Tessa, and she realizes exactly how the gun wound up in Crystal's hands. Nikki confronts Tessa about it, and at first Tessa tries to lie. She tries to deny it, but then she confesses to Nikki that here's the thing, I know the guns were in a locked safe, but she just so happened to see a piece of paper where the safe combo was written, and it's just, Tessa says, it was so hard, but I tried to forget the combination to your private safe. I really tried, but I couldn't get those numbers out of my mind. You know, it happens. And then, you know, as time went on, I was so overwhelmed by curiosity that, I thought to myself, well, gee, what secrets or treasures might be locked here inside of these people's private safe? I mean, they've been so generous to me, letting me live here instead of living in my car. I'll just take a peek. I'm annoyed. Like, I feel annoyed that Tessa did that. Like, does that mean that if there were treasures, if there were money inside of their private safe, that she would have been tempted to take it? It is such a total breach of trust that I can't ignore now. Like, I can't unsee this from Tessa, and I don't know if everybody else was as annoyed, but to me, I was just like, they let you into their home, and you couldn't stop yourself from looking into their private safe? I mean, Nikki trusted her, and she betrayed her, and to me, that just speaks to Tessa's character. It speaks something about Tessa's character. I totally understand Tessa's instinct to want to help her sister, but let's be real. She peeked inside of that safe before Crystal's safety ever came into question. If she did it in or around the time of that concert, the Crystal stuff I don't even think was going on at that time. So I was annoyed. Nikki was annoyed. She told Victor that Tessa was the one who stole the gun, and in the previews of next week's show, Victor decides to use his precious tree lighting ceremony to tell Noah all about it. I'm sure that Noah is going to forgive her. I'm sure that she is going to explain her way out of this, but I think the rubber's meeting the road here when it's coming to Tessa. I think we are getting ready to see the new writer deal with her. I think that we're probably starting next week going to start to see what Tessa is really made of. Is she really trustworthy? Is she really committed to Noah? Does she love him because of him, or does she love him because he's a Newman? What other secrets is she keeping? I want to know more about Tessa, and I want to know if she's going to end up circling back to her best friend Mariah, and I wonder if they're gonna end or at least get into a better place, a good place, or is Mariah doomed to scarf sadness muffins and orange soda on Hilary's dime forever? Deep in damage control mode, Victoria asks Abby to make a press conference statement which has been pre-prepared for her. Look, I can't blame Abby for not wanting to be told what to say, but I do wish she had the guts to just stand up to Victoria and to Victor about it to their faces. Instead, she has a private copy editing session with Scott to make a few strategic edits to the statement here and there and blindside Victoria and Victor with an alternate version of the speech. I mean, it all worked out to Newman Enterprises' benefit in the end, but it was a little bit of a shady move, and it is a little bit of Abby maybe not wanting to take any responsibility for what happened. I mean, I don't blame her by any means for everything, but she should at least take some responsible for some of the things, shouldn't she? And she needs to stop leaning on Scott so hard, because all the while that Abby and Scott are editing this speech, Sharon's at home preparing a special meal of asparagus and tarragon sauce. I've never made a tarragon sauce. I don't know, but it does sound complex. So I'm gonna assume that Sharon went to a lot of trouble on this special meal for him, which he's blowing off just to help Abby with her homework, pretty much. You could tell that even Abby didn't entirely feel that it was right. She tried to encourage him to go home, but she also didn't stop him from staying too hard. But I do also kind of wonder if Scott's feelings for Abby are becoming stronger even than Abby's feelings for Scott. Does anybody else get that vibe? I mean, I think she's fine with the attention, but I'm not sure that I see hearts in her eyes in quite the same magnitude that I'm seeing them in Scott's eyes for her. I don't know. They are like two peas in a pod now. Abby and Scott don't do anything not together at this point. Knowing that she's going to get fired, Abby and Scott decide to make a pact to march back to Newman Enterprises and quit their jobs. Abby successfully tells Victoria off, tells her she's done, she quits. But when it comes time for Scott to do his part and quit his job, he's kind of saved by the bell. All of a sudden, because he has gone ahead and published his sex ring article, hashtag is a sudden smash success. And Victoria is being advised to just keep the online magazine around for a little while longer. It's good for business, and give Scott a bonus too while she's at it. So Scott comes out of this whole thing smelling like a rose, while Abby's got the egg all over her face. Scott has to go back to Abby, tell her that, yeah, instead of quitting, I kind of got a promotion, sorta. To which Abby sees as a total betrayal. She becomes upset with him, and this crushes him. Scott cannot stand thinking that Abby feels double-crossed by him, so he goes out of his way to apologize to her, once again blowing off part 2 of a date with Sharon. Now they've decided instead of this special meal, they're going to go to top of the tower and have a night out. Sharon is dressed up. Her hair is done. She's immaculate. And Scott is too busy comforting Abby at the bar to hardly even notice. He is essentially choosing Abby's feelings over Sharon's, and Sharon's starting to notice. Okay, Sharon's picking up on the vibe. She, though, seems to see it as Abby being interested in Scott. I don't think she's fully allowing herself to see that a lot of it feels, to me anyway, as an outsider, the other way around. But Sharon decides that she's not about to lose her man now. She's decided she loves him. She said it out loud, I love him. So she decides to stake her claim on the man that she loves, and she tells Scott, or she is preparing to, she tells Nick that she's preparing to ask Scott to move in with her. I don't know how he is going to agree to this. I don't know how Scott can look Sharon in the eye right now after what happened with Abby. I'm really surprised that he's not confessing to this. I know that he doesn't want to hurt Sharon, but it's really surprising to me that he's just pretending like it didn't happen and going on letting Sharon think that everything's hunky-dory. His article with hashtag has become so popular that he ends up getting an interview on some national news program, not the Hilary Hour. Someone went on a news program that was not the Hilary Hour. So he goes on TV and he does this interview that I don't even think was approved by Newman. And he is just, singing Abby's praises, saying what a hero she was. I mean, when they were trapped in that box together, he was going through his PTSD, and Abby really calmed him down. I mean, he was pumping her up, probably feeling guilty about her perceiving him as having double-crossed her, but he's just going out of his way for Abby. He's falling over himself for Abby. I mean, does he not even think about how Sharon is feeling about this? I'm not getting him. An interesting little twist that sort of piqued my interest is that at the end of the interview, the host tells him that he did such a great job that he should consider applying for a job with this news network in New York. The job would be based in New York. Well, immediately I'm like, I think you should take the job. I'm mad at Scott right now, okay? He should just take the job, leave both of these women alone. I mean, I'm sure that he's not gonna take it, but I'm feeling a little bit like the winds of change are blowing at Y&R. I could almost see this being an exit for the character because I'm not so sure that the fans are particularly excited about seeing Abby and Sharon duke it out over him. Besides, the real story is about Abby and Victoria duking it out at Newman Enterprises. So after Abby quits her job, Victor ends up finding out about that, and he pretty much forces Victoria to play nice with Abby, forces her to extend Abby her job back, bring her back into the fold, which was the right thing to do. At least this is one way of Victor doing what he needs to do, encouraging his family members to work together. But as Abby so rightly said earlier in the week, Victor picks and chooses when family is important to him. Family is the most important thing to Victor, except when it's not. So Victor decides that it's all about control is what it is. He didn't like letting Abby get out of his control. So he forces Victoria to put a big old smile on her face and welcome Abby back into the company with open arms. I think that it was kind of good to watch Victoria squirm. I did enjoy that just a little bit. The look on her face, and you could tell she was gritting teeth. And Abby, knowing that she has the upper hand, is sticking it to Victoria every way she can. She says, okay, well, you're going to want me back anyway, so I'm going to demand a better position, more pay, the right to report directly to Victor, not to you. And oh yeah, I'd like to have a better office too. So Abby is finding a way to come out of this smelling like a rose. It is nice to see Abby asserting herself. I like to see that instead of just being passive in her own life. My only little teeny tiny sadness is that I thought it would have been fun to see Ashley and Abby working together at Jabot. When Abby quit the job at Newman, I had hope for that. I thought, ooh, that's good. Ashley's gonna need a right hand at Jabot, so Abby could go work there, and then we could have the Abbott business be like this woman-led business, and then together with Lauren and Phyllis and Gloria, these girls can just work together to kick butt and take names. A teeny tiny little drop of melted ice just dribbled off of Victoria's cold heart this week as she shows a little bit of humanity toward Kane and what he's going through. We learned this week that the baby he shared with Juliet might not make it. He has, I think, a heart problem, and the medications aren't working as well as the doctors thought, and so Kane is going through this so alone. And it was nice to see Victoria taking the time to talk to Kane and relate to him, because Maddie and Charlie were preemies, but so was Reed, and Victoria hands him a card, recommends a specialist to him. That was nice to see. So the baby will have to have some kind of procedure done. They will need blood for that. Kane naturally donates the blood, but it was also really good to see Lily stepping in there and supporting him, knowing that he needs a friend. I mean, Maddie and Charlie have been doing good at being there for their father, but other than that, Kane really doesn't have anyone. So Lily goes into the situation, decides to try to donate blood too, and we find out that she is actually a better match for the child than even Kane was. She has some kind of special platelets or something in her blood that makes it even better, and that's what they're going to end up using to do this surgery. So I thought that was great. I think that, I mean, what better way to bond this family together and to bond Lily to the baby that we know she's going to ultimately be raising when the family is reunited together. I mean, Sam is never going to be Lily's biological son, but she may be the one who saves his life, and it will be her blood that's flowing through his veins. Do you think we'll ever see Jordan again? Because part of me wonders if he's just completely gone now. Lily finally gets the memo about Jordan being exposed for his grifter past right as Jordan is issuing his own expose on Hilary. He somehow gets those nudie photos of Hilary published onto her website so that all of the public can see them. I'm assuming people are going to log into the Hilary Hour and they're just seeing naked photos of her. I guess he must have somehow had that site hacked or something. So the public, everyone is now seeing nude photos of Hilary. Everyone in Genoa City is pulling up their phones and has now seen nude photos of Hilary, and Devon is seeing nude photos of his ex-wife splashed all over everyone's screens. I'm pretty sure that those pictures probably jogged loose some fond memories for Devon. Oh, how embarrassing. I mean, just how totally violating, you know? I mean, it's a good lesson for people. Just don't pose for nude photos. It just doesn't matter. There's no good that's gonna come of that, I guess. I guess the thing is, unless you are okay with everyone seeing them, then don't do it. It's a good cautionary tale. I think that Hilary's going through it right now. She is really struggling with this. I can't imagine how mortifying she must feel. I do love that Devon is there for her. She needs somebody to be there for her. I loved seeing him defend her, and not just defend her. I like that Devon makes an effort to really listen to Hilary and to support her and understand her, and he just seems to have this way of like handling Hilary that nobody else does. And likewise, Hilary trusts Devon enough to let her guard down with him and to speak her truth, and she seems to trust him in a way that she doesn't trust anybody else. Like, she's not afraid to be her ugly self with him, and that's really a great quality to have in a partner. You know, just allowing yourself to be whatever you are in front of someone is so cathartic, and I think that that's what Hilary needs. She's always fluctuating back and forth between the good and the bad, and Devon does a really good job of bringing her somewhere toward the center. So it's good that he's the one who's able to be here for her while she's going through this, because I think that right now Hilary is feeling the pain that she has put other people through. She has made money, she's made a business, she's made a reputation on exposing other people's secrets, and now here she is having her own secrets exposed, and she knows how it feels now, and it really could be a powerful turning point for her character. I don't know if she will end up taking it. I mean, she could take it and run with it and let this be a renaissance for her life, or it could just be a passing thing and she'll go right back to being a bad girl. I don't know, but I do get the sense that, I mean, I guess I feel like even though she fired the first shot when it came to Jordan, I don't think that that makes what he did to her okay. I think that two wrongs don't make a right. You know, I mean, I'm not trying to take away any of the bad things that Hilary has done. She's still done bad things, but at the same time, I just don't think anybody deserves to be treated like that. And I actually really liked that Sharon was the one that brought that narrative to the forefront of this story. Sharon sits down with Hilary, gives her a big old cookie, and says, I just want you to know that I don't think this was right. After being exposed to everything that those girls went through with the whole sex trafficking thing, I just want you to know that I think that it's made me realize that nobody deserves to be exploited sexually. It's wrong, wrong, wrong. And I liked that Sharon said it. You know, I mean, it didn't necessarily create a bond between them, but I thought that was very mature of Sharon, and I think Hilary needed to hear that at that moment. It's very interesting that last week or the week before, when Hilary exposed Jordan and Chelsea was experiencing people laughing and pointing at her in public, and now it's like karma. It has really, really come through for Hilary. She's experiencing the same thing now, only the people are laughing and pointing because they've seen her naked body, and it's including people that she knows. There was a moment where Charlie and his friend are at the coffee house with Hilary and Devon, and the friend has the nudie photos pulled up on his phone, and he's like pointing at Hilary like, I'm looking at you, and then I'm looking at you, and then I'm looking at you, and they were kind of laughing about it, and Devon marched right over there and told him to just step it back a minute. I really liked all of the interactions between Devon and Charlie this week. I think that even before that happened, Devon had this really refreshing kind of pep talk with Charlie, telling him that he's there for him and providing a little bit of guidance, saying, you know, I know that you've been through a lot. You're going through a lot with your parents right now, but I want you to just keep trying to be the best man that you know how to be. And eventually that's going to pay itself off in ways that you can't even imagine yet. I thought that was such a great line. I love that he took that moment. That's a message, right? That young men need to have. Just be the best man that you know how to be. And so I just thought that was really great writing. That's a really great moment. And then later, I thought it was great that Devon schooled him on giggling at those naked photos. I thought that was really Devon showing his stripes there, showing his true colors there. Lily, of course, also talked to Charlie and even shared some of her own experiences with bad decision making. The fact that she met a guy online, lost her virginity to him, ended up getting an STD, and we all know she was talking about Mr. Kevin Fisher. So that was a good tie-in, a good moment for Lily being a parent and just being honest with her older child, that this is what going through this phase is like, and I don't want you to follow in my footsteps. Charlie goes to Hilary. He apologizes to her, but in many ways, Hilary's looking at Charlie's face and she's realizing that he's just one of many. There's many, many people out there that are seeing her. There's many, many people out there that are offended by her. She's losing sponsors left and right. Her commercials being pulled from the air. She could lose the show itself. If she's not able to turn it around and get advertising, then she's not going to be able to continue to do the show. Does anybody else kind of wish that GC Buzz would go away? Maybe it's just me, but I just don't find it compelling anymore. I don't like the GC Buzz thing. I just would rather see Hilary just be a gossipy girl around town than be subjected to any more of these interview segments. A golden nugget just landed in my pan. A golden nugget just landed in my pan. What a weird thing to say. That was our quote from last week. It was Hilary who said that. She was talking about the golden nuggets of news that are landing in her pan just by hanging out at the GCAC. Quite a few people guessed that one. So congratulations, Lynn and Angela, Jamie, Leslie, Heather, Henry, Justin, Ambreen, and Nancy. How's Melissa? Has she had her baby yet? Keep me posted. I've got a new quote for you guys. I don't know why I picked this one, but I liked it. Are you ready to be dazzled and amazed? I guess I like being dazzled and amazed. So I'm constantly living in a state of being ready to be dazzled and amazed. Do you think you know who said that quote? If you do, then you can go to yrchat.com and leave your guess. Vote in the polls, leave some comments, everything's right there. But if you get the quote right next week, then when I come back and do the chat, I will give you your shout out too. Well, your comments are far more fascinating than mine, so let's read them here. Daisy sent me a message on Facebook with a little bit more of a twist on the on my perspective or my viewing of the Abby Victoria situation. Daisy says, I dislike how Abby's acting right now, even more than I did last week. What she said about Victoria and her father in the press conference was so childish. Victoria lost her company because of the actions of her employees, then betrayed her, not the other way around. Abby, on the other hand, was given a great opportunity by her father, but blew it because she was more interested in one-upping Victoria rather than ensuring that Zach and his project were on the up and up. Abby had her eyes on Victoria, not Zach, and what he was bringing to her father's company. That's just very well said. I mean, I tend to give Abby a little bit more leeway, but there was that great moment where Abby looks at Victoria and says, you've got your eyes on me, well, I've got my eyes on you. And hello, maybe that was the problem. Maybe that was the problem all along. And I mean, I guess you know, I'm gonna have to say, I don't know how Abby didn't know that was going on, and you do make a strong point that she was just maybe so taken with Zach that she wasn't paying attention. How do you not know that that's going on? I don't know. Also, I really liked, Daisy made another comment about Scott's interview, saying that it was Crystal who saved Abby and Scott. Crystal's the hero. They did not save themselves. That's another good point. Crystal's just disappeared into the mist. We will never see her. We will never hear about her. Scott made that interview all about Abby when they would be dead if it wasn't for that girl. And nobody cares. So there you go. Connor left me a very fiery voicemail saying, Ravi, are you really okay being Ashley's last resort? Are you really okay waiting around for Ashley to give you attention? Ravi does not know his potential. Y&R needs to write Ravi in full time, give him a platform, because Ravi could be a character with a lot of depth. He could do so many things. Ravi could be the new Kevin. You know, I think the thing that I zeroed in on with your comment is that Ravi doesn't know his potential. I don't know if the Y&R writers are ever going to get it, but it's almost like a self-confidence issue with Ravi. He maybe doesn't realize how great of a guy he is. He deserves more. He deserves more of Ashley's attention, and I wish that he were confident enough to just ask her for that. But yeah, I don't know if Y&R is going to keep Ravi around, honestly. You're right that he could be someone who could have some depth, because Ravi's not real kooky, you know? I mean, he's somebody who could be more of a moral conscience, and he's just different. He's different than some of the other folks that we have on the landscape right now. So there is a lot of potential. I just don't know if Y&R is going to tap it. Mary Ann at yrchat.com says, in hindsight, I would have preferred Abby and Ravi over Abby and Zach or Scott. I prefer Abby as an entertaining, lighter character over a more dramatic character. Ravi and Abby would have made an entertaining couple. With Kevin gone, he could work with Paul and she could be the humorous Newman Abbott character. Abby and Ravi would have been a good pair, right? And I think you're right that at this, you know, particularly this actress, but the character in general definitely works with comedy. I mean, you think back to the last actress who played her, and it was more of a yickety schmackety doo naked heiress kind of vibe, and I think that really worked. That really would have worked good with Ravi. It's interesting that people do tend to associate the Ravi character with the hole that's now where Kevin's character used to be. I mean, it's kind of hard not to. Leslie at yrchat.com says, if we are going to lose Ravi, I would like it to be with a bang. Make something meaty where he freaks out over the rejection and goes all stalkerish, or maybe even bring Graham back into conclusion to have them team up to get their respective revenge. Some internet scandal created about Ashley or Jabot. Ashley taking over as CEO creates the perfect situation for Ravi to take advantage of her trust. Yeah, I don't want to see that for Ravi. I would rather see them bring Ravi on full time. I could watch him full time. I feel passionate enough about that character to want to see him more, to want to know more about him. But I don't know that they're going to do it. But I think you're right. It would be at least better to see something dramatic happen with him rather than to watch him fizzle into the background. Oh, lots of comments about Dina and the Abbott Christmas, of course. It is really a front burner story, but this made me laugh. Ellen at yrchat.com saying that had to be one of the ugliest Christmas trees I've seen in a long time, Jack. Tall and skinny with droopy, saggy branches. Yes, Jack. That plus your truly awful decorating gives you a grade F for sure. Find Mamie quick. You are not qualified for any part of this task. Ho, ho, no. And then later, Ellen says, presto changeo. I mean, after the commercial, Mrs. Martinez and her family came by during the commercial break and fixed everything. Oh, the life of the pampered super rich. Where do I sign up? Yeah, I have to admit, I think the Presto Change soap opera fix has given me a very inaccurate interpretation of how life really works. I'd really love to just snap my fingers and have the whole place decorated. That was kind of funny, though. I mean, come on. He just handed Mrs. Martinez a wad of cash. I'm like, thanks. Good thing you have, like, what, 10 family members handy on hand to do all that decorating in the time that it took Dina to have a nap. Oh, Tony at yrchat.com was pointing out some loose ends on the show, and this one caught my attention. Tony's talking about Graham's inheritance. She says, if Graham has all of Dina's money and 1/3 of John's, and Jack has stepped aside for that, well, yeah, okay, so I'm not sure what you mean as far as all of Dina's money and 1/3 of John's. I'm not sure why Graham would have, he should not have any of John's money. He's in no way related to John, but I liked the point that you made. It kind of jogged me to a thought of Dina's inheritance. Now, I don't know enough about Alzheimer's to know. I mean, it's a degenerative brain disease, but you don't really die from it, do you? Is it in and of itself what eventually causes your death, or is it like more complications? I mean, do you end up dying of something else? Maybe somebody can give me some information on that, because if when Dina does pass away, we did have that really big storyline arc of Graham making her sign her will, and I mean, I know that the Abbotts don't need the money, but they certainly are not going to want Graham to get it, right? So it is a whole and something that really cannot be ignored. If they're going to pursue to the bitter end Dina and her mortality, don't they need to bring back Graham, or did something happen that I missed where they just decided to make her re-sign her will? Or I don't know. I think that could be an opportunity to bring Graham back. Also, Tony had a comment here about the Alzheimer's story in general, saying that Alzheimer's is sad but true. However, right now it's consuming the show all day, every day. The writer has an audience and a personal situation, but he's going a little too strong on the issue. It's slipping into every storyline. It seems more like his outlet than a soap storyline. You know, Tony, I kind of was thinking this week, it's hard to like divorce the idea of Mal Young having gone through this from what's happening on our screen. And I thought this week that it seemed in a lot of places like this was maybe Mal working through some of his own experiences and maybe some of his lingering issues. Maybe that's reading too far into it. I don't know. But it's hard not to think about it now. This is a storyline. I think it's worth acknowledging and not forgetting that it's a storyline that's being written by someone who has gone through it. I don't know. Are you guys thinking it's a little too much Alzheimer's for you? I think Sandra would disagree with the last comment, saying, I feel that Mal Young is doing an exceptional job writing the scenes between Jack and Dina. On a personal note, when my mother was diagnosed with cancer, we took her home from the hospital and I told her I would stop working and take care of her. She looked at me and said, "I'm going to miss you." The reason I mention this is because when Dina turned to Jack and told him how she loved him and always would, that scene brought me right back to that moment with my mother. Needless to say, Jack and Dina's tender moments brought me to tears. So for that reason, I think Mal Young is bringing real life feel to the dynamics between family members during a terminal illness. I know I cried too. I mean, I cried too. It was so very touching. And even though I have not lost a parent, both of my parents are healthy right now. I'm an only child. So I have this constant carrying of the weight that I'm going to be the one. You know, it's all going to be on me to take care of them as they age. So I think there's a part of me that just wants to avoid this. You know, I mean, I think that it's so heavy and I'm so terrified of it that there's a part of me that doesn't want to see it and doesn't want to connect with it, but it's kind of hard. And I mean, it is life. And I think for its part, for what it is, I mean, I'm trying to get over the fact that I'm just pissed that I'm losing a character that I like in Dina. But I think that for what I'm being presented with, I do think it's relatable for even someone who hasn't been through specifically Alzheimer's. And I think that's what Sandra's saying too. It's not just about the disease of Alzheimer's. It's about the family, and it's about losing someone that you love. And God, it's just such a twisted way to do it. Life is just, oh, that's just so twisted. Leanne on YouTube has an interesting theory about Dina and the underground. Leanne says, it always seems so strange that Dina wandered into the underground that night. Now I'm thinking she knew exactly where she was. Knew in quotes. Maybe the underground was a restaurant or a club back in the day where she'd meet up with Brent Davis. Well, I'd say that's a very generous interpretation. Let's go with that. Let's just go with that. Let's say that back in the day, Dina and Brent were like, you know, just like, I don't know, it's the 70s. Maybe they're discoing. Let's go with it. T. Nicole at yrchat.com says, excuse me, Victor is now going to blackmail Chelsea with Christian's paternity results. I think what frustrates me the most is that when the truth was first found out about Chelsea wanting to tell Nick and Victor, or wanting to tell Nick, Victor convinced her not to. Now he's going to manipulate her to do what he wants with the secret that he has wanted to stay hidden. Victor, if you don't want to get along with Nick, then fine, go ahead. But you don't get to control Chelsea and pick your holiday events over letting her spend it with her live-in boyfriend. T. Nicole says, I miss the Chelsea who stood up strong against Victor when she was with Adam. Yeah, really, T. Nicole. Adam and Chelsea were all about rebelling against Victor. That was such a huge part of their relationship. And now she's with Nick, and she has to be the one dragging Nick to the ranch by his ear to go see his father. And you also make a good point about Chelsea wanting to tell Nick the truth in the first place. I can tell you this. Victor does not want this secret to come out. If this secret comes out, he's implicated all over the place too. How's Nikki going to feel about it? How's Victoria going to feel about it? How's the world going to feel about that, knowing that Victor knew all about the fact that Nick was raising a child that wasn't really his? Nobody wants this secret to come out, so drop it, Victor. Or don't use it as blackmail. It's just, yeah, I mean, it's another way that Victor has left a bad taste in our mouths. Let's end on this comment from Gary, because this is something that I didn't delve too far into this week on my own, and I like this comment a lot. Gary left me a voicemail saying, are we through with Mariah and Tessa? And if we are, is Mal going to send Tessa away? What would Mariah's fate be? Every character's destiny is romance, and Sharon mentioned to Mariah about her being interested in women, and Mariah said, well, I've never been interested in women, just one. So is Y&R planning on putting Mariah with a man sometime in the future? I don't really think so. I don't think that would work very well, and yet, if you went with another woman, they might as well keep Tessa. So they've kind of ruined Mariah if they decide not to go with the gay storyline. Yeah, Gary, I mean, what is going to happen here? Because I keep getting the vibe that that Tessa's not going to stay around. If Mariah and Tessa don't end up together, at least for a little bit, then I'm not sure what becomes of Mariah. You honed in on that line, and I'm not sure. I'm not sure what she's going to do. I think Y&R's painted themselves into a corner here, and not one of those sexy Bob Ross corners. With Mariah, right? I mean, like, what are they going to do? Because, like, if either they keep Tessa and they write the storyline with Mariah, or they have to cut Tessa and figure out what to do with Mariah after that. Because the situation with Mariah and Tessa has made it impossible for me to root for Noah and Tessa, right? We're not rooting for Noah and Tessa at this point, are we? I mean, I don't know. There was this interview in CBS Soaps in Depth, which I'm sure you saw, Gary, with Robert Adamson, who plays Noah, and he was kind of mulling over the consequences of Mariah and Tessa's relationship becoming a reality and the implications for he and his half-sister and even his mother, if this actually does get pursued. So I don't know. I mean, I guess that's the thing. We either need to pair up Mariah and Tessa, or we just are going to need to get rid of Tessa. But getting rid of Tessa, it kind of messes us up where Mariah is concerned. I don't know what they're going to do. But you know, we need to see something else from Noah too. It's a gap. That article with Robert Adamson, he was also talking about what he would like to see for the character of Noah, and he mentioned that he would like to get Noah out from behind the bar. And he had this really great suggestion of making Noah a paralegal for Michael. I guess the actor who plays Noah really likes Christian LeBlanc, who plays Michael, and so he had this idea of maybe letting Noah become a paralegal for Michael's office. I thought, well, that's a good idea. That could be interesting, considering all of the legal trouble the Newman family tends to get into. Who knew Bob Ross would become such a dominant theme for this week's Y&R Chat? There's probably people out there who don't know who Bob Ross is. So you'll have to Google that. Go to YouTube and watch some Bob Ross and really get into it, or turn on your PBS. Get into it. Okay, well, I think that does it for me for this week. I've said what I need to say. What is it that you want to say to me? You can go to yrchat.com to leave your comments. You can also, from there, find the link to, like, Facebook. I have not been checking Twitter as much. Sorry about that. It's hard to get a point across in that amount of characters. And it's like, the feed for Twitter is so junky. I can never, like, see. It's like I just get a bunch of, like, retweets and likes, and I can't see, like, what the actual comments are. And it's just messy. Twitter's messy. So I'm sorry I haven't really been doing a good job of checking messages there as frequently. So if you want to leave me a comment, go to yrchat.com. That's the best place. I always see those. And that's where I look throughout the week. And also I listen to my voicemail throughout the week. So 309-588-4569. I haven't seen any iTunes reviews in a while either. I think more people maybe listen to the podcast than watch the video, maybe. So if you want to leave an iTunes review, that's always nice. I haven't said that in a while. Yeah, I think that's it. I hope everybody has a good week, and we'll be back next week to chat again about our show. So take care, everybody. Love ya. Bye.